Welcome to Mystic Musings with Toby Hewitt. I'm Toby Hewitt, and I'm your guide through time and space and all points in between. Mystic Musings will give you insight into who you are, why you are here, how to live an authentic life, and where you fit into the universe around you. Join me on this path of mystical exploration. Welcome to episode 75 of Mystic Musings with Toby Hewitt. This week, we will continue to consider pathwork as we continue our mystic journey. One of the ways I knew things were changing, as I said last week, was when I wanted to curtail my readings. But how did I determine that this was the correct path to take? I take helping other people learn about themselves as individual spirits connected to the oneness of the creative spirit very seriously. How could I stop doing this? It had become in many ways uncomfortable, mentally and even physically, as the idea alone would sap my energy. I finally sat down and spoke with those spirits I know are around me, Roger and Nakoma. And I could sense there were others who wanted to have input. I sensed that the consensus was that I needed to take a break, at the very least from the stress that the readings were now filling me with. I felt a bit guilty for a while, but then, having made the decision, I realized that it didn't mean all readings forever. It meant taking a break for some indeterminate amount of time from giving readings. Of course, that is when a client I have read for 14 years called for her yearly check-in. I will schedule her when I feel more centered to do so. She understands. In the meantime, I also realized that some things, activities I normally procrastinate about, were happening without much effort at all. I became aware that there seemed to be a sense of an awareness of a feeling leading me to do or not to do something with an insistence I had not experienced before on a regular basis. I knew part of this was my intuition tuning in to what I wanted rather than what I felt I needed to do to fulfill some aspect of self. It meant that my recognition of self changed into the one I had always envisioned, but never quite had the wherewithal to pursue. There is a questioning that takes place, and sometimes the answer occurs immediately, and sometimes after a few days. It is a feeling of rightness, some of which occurs when I write down in my journal what it is I want, and then see if that rings true. Also, I have gotten sync moments when a word or phrase is expressed in two different ways, say reading it and hearing it simultaneously on the radio or TV. Confirmation never takes very long, but it takes some practice to live this way continually. One thing that occurs to let me know I am fulfilling both my desires and those of the universe is that the way is made easy. For example, writing these new episodes has become quite easy, words flowing and ideas being captured without much effort whatsoever. When life begins to flow smoothly, like the river outside my window, I know that I am fulfilling the vision for my life I established before I incarnated into this life. I have resumed daily writing practice. This means I sit down at somewhat the same time every day, approximately between 5 and 6 a.m., and I write. I aim for 1,000 words, which I know sounds like a lot, but I write very quickly, especially as I am helped by spirit. I am usually done within an hour. I may select a topic from my growing list of ideas that I save in my phone's notes section, or take a few deep breaths and start wherever I am supposed to start, which I know sounds a little bewildering, but it is truly the best way to start and to continue. I turn off ego mind and tune into intuition mind. It is like stream of consciousness writing, but unlike that writing practice, I do pause and pay attention to what the universe is trying to convey. And I also take time to think about where the message seems to be going and try to gather what the importance of the direction is. I guess I consider this a group effort, me, spirit, and the larger universe. I do not usually read what I have written for at least a few days, and then I am often surprised at whole passages of what I am reading, for I have no conscious memory of having written it. I think writing is a very good method of getting in touch with self and with the universe. I highly recommend writing ideas and even sync words and phrases in your phone and start a writing practice, especially doing so early in the morning when your mind is not filled with the distractions of the day. I like to write in Google Drive and then transferring to Word if I find I want to consider sending something to be considered for publication. You do not have to start with 1,000 words. You could start with 250 or 500, but having a word number goal helps to keep the intuitive and creative juices flowing. If you want more details about how to write intuitively, I recommend checking out my book, Intuitive Writing, which can be found on Amazon.com when you search for my name. That book explains a bit more about writing, but also suggests uses for gaining information from spirit through writing that you may be curious about, including contacting your spirit guide and loved ones who have passed over. But you could start a writing practice without getting the book, and I encourage you to do so because you just never know what is roaming about in your intuitive mind and the universe until you open yourself to writing it down. And it could be some fairly interesting stuff. I think that a major part of Pathwork has to do with opening yourself to the information and inspiration of your intuitive mind. It is, after all, connected to your esoteric body, which contains your spirit, and, in that, knows what your life plan is and the pathwork you are supposed to be pursuing. I sense that will be our next topic. Please join me next week for episode 76 of Mystic Musings with Toby Hewitt, when Spirit and I will share aspects of Pathwork as we continue our mystic journey. Thanks for listening to this episode of Mystic Musings. Please join me every week to continue our exploration of all things mystical that can help you have a more practical and magical life. Please visit my website, TobieHewitt.com, for more information and to read my blog postings. And join me also at pathwaystomindfulness.org to learn how you can schedule a presentation. I'm available for mindfulness training, demonstrations of psychic abilities, and individual readings. I also have a number of books on mystical topics on Amazon.com. I look forward to hearing from you and answering your questions. Please contact me through TobieHewitt.com.